process that is built into our democracy we must stand against it, we must stand for democracy, and I'll hand over to our candidates.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish to also reiterate the Representation of the People's Act under Section 101 allows for a recount to take place within a particular period of time. It must be triggered within a particular period of time. The United National Congress has abided by that, and the recount has been undergoing since on Tuesday we put in the necessary documentation. This is a democratic right that we are exercising, and the narrative that is being peddled that we are somehow obstructing processes is totally false. What we are doing, as the law provides us to do, is an exercise that is to ensure then that the integrity of the process is maintained. That is all that we are doing. And through that exercise, it is clear that certain irregularities are being found. For example, in San Fernando, I can tell you that on election day, we had some significant issues at the Gulf Community Center where lines were building up and took almost 3.5 hours to cast their ballots. And several correspondences would have been written for the returning officer and the Election and Boundaries Commission to treat with those issues. Right? Any conversation as well too that is being had that because of these recounts that normal government processes are being halted or curtailed in some way, form or fashion is totally false. We have had the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago coming out and indicating that that is not the case. We have had other legal luminaries coming out and indicating that that is not the case. The incompetence of an administration to handle certain issues were present and clear before August the 10th. It continued on the day of August the 10th and it will continue thereafter. Let no one say that what we are doing is in some way, form or fashion irregular or illegal. The law provides for it. And we have always stood on the side of the law and on the side of law-abiding citizens in our country, and it is something that will benefit the entire country by eliminating all of these irregularities, because it will benefit the country in the long run. We need to have the process, maintain the integrity of the process is being maintained, and we continue to do so. Nothing about the process is illegal, nothing about the process is obstructionist, nothing about the process is procrastinating in any form or fashion.
Trying to get you on today, you know,
Yeah, let us switch. Put our mic back a little closer for a minute, please, just so we could get good audio. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. I would like to add my voice to indicate that there are too many irregularities taking place at our current count in the constituency of St. Joseph. The place of this count is at the community center, Market Street. Let me highlight some of the key ones. Now, on Wednesday we had a press conference and I indicated that in one polling division we had 171 irregular initials. This then prompted me to seek a sample initial so that we could compare each ballot in the check. That has been refused. This 171 irregular initials accounts for more than 50% of the ballots in that box. Secondly, most of the polling cards have been checked, and we are finding that more than 54% are white cards. The white cards are the ones you do not receive in the mail. The white cards are when you come to the station, you say, I do not have a polling card. They will pull the copy or they will make out one for you. That is then recorded in the polling station diary. We have asked to verify those polling cards against the station diary, and we are flatly being refused by the returning officer. So therefore we cannot ascertain, right, the veracity of the polling cards as well as for the ballots. We found last night a ballot box that was improperly sealed. The ballot box supposed to have seals, the front and the side, to ensure that if you open it, anyone opens the ballot box, you will break those seals. This ballot box had a seal at the back only over the hinges. So if you were able to open the ballot box from the front, will not hinder the seal, and you can do whatever you want and reclose that ballot box. We objected to it, that ballot box, and all the contents of it. Another ballot box yesterday evening had no proper seals on them. Each envelope coming out of the ballot box would have a white seal with the signatures of all the persons from the polling station, and this will be glued to it, right? None of the envelopes had any of those seals on it, and this came out of a sealed ballot box. So there are very strong irregularities taking place to indicate that things are not above board. The white polling cards, as indicated, accounts for more than 54% in only 5, and we have 48 more boxes to account for. We have asked to examine the polling ballot stubs, and that has been flatly denied because we cannot do any correlation as to the amount of ballots as to the stubs, because we have been coming up with a vote short here, a vote short there, someone getting more in one particular ballot box. On the statement of poll, we had a figure that was decreased by 10. When they opened the envelope, they found 10 PNM votes in our pile, which it took out. But we had 76. And the question was, so where is our 10? Because we had 76. They did not seem to check or could verify whether or not the ballots, okay, was in correlation with the stubs. They flatly deny us the opportunity at every stage to verify whether or not the figures are right in terms of ballots to stubs. The final main issue is that this statement of poll 108001, as you see it here, I'll bring it close to you. Okay, 108001 was issued to our agent, and you will see all the official, and this is the authentic statement of poll, all the official signatures of all the persons who were at the polling station on that day. Last night, when we were checking this particular ballot box, these figures, 40 PNM were doctored,
Okay.
right? Indicating impropriety. It was doctored here, here, and here. Had no initials by these persons, indicating that whoever tampered with the document did so fraudulently. And we made a report last night to the police station. St. Joseph was closed for possible COVID, which had to be sanitized, so we had to go to Tanakuna, and we did this around 11:43 after it was closed. This is the report, and it shows me as the candidate making the report and my counting agent who was with me. Okay, so now this is in the hands of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to now investigate. And these are some of the major irregularities taking place at St. Joseph so far. I will now hand over to Ms. David.
Come on this side.
I'm trying to read more, but
I'd like to welcome all of you to the wonderful constituency of Tinapuna. What we've seen in our recount as representatives of the United National Congress has been alarming. First of all, some of my colleagues stated that we've asked also in Tinapuna to have a specimen signature present. None was provided. We were flatly told none would be provided. So we have nothing to compare to the signatures on the ballot, which for me is unbelievable in itself. Secondly, we asked to see diaries that we can have an account of people who came to vote possibly without ID cards, and we were told that those diaries would not be available for us to be seen, and we queried on several occasions why this is so, and it was stated to us that it would be under the discretion of the returning officer. Of course, we objected vehemently, and nothing has. We've sent letters from our legal team to the EBC, and until now we have received no reply to our queries. Now, those first two, alarming as they are, the most alarming thing has been that we've had 25 ballot boxes counted in our absence. 25, let me repeat that for the citizenry of Trinidad. There have been 25 ballot boxes counted in the absence of any representative of the UNC. On Tuesday, the first day of the recount, it was made abundantly clear to all present by the returning officer that a schedule would be set from 9 to 5, which we have adhered to on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Subsequently, on Wednesday, the returning officer, on the urging and prompting of the PNM Legal, said that we would go beyond 5 o'clock, which we did. We went until 6 so that we could finish one of the ballot boxes. We understood that they went until 11 o'clock, and they counted 4 boxes in our absence. That is on Wednesday. On Thursday, we stated to them that we were not present. We sent a letter to the EBC. On Thursday, we reiterated that the schedule was set 9 to 5. We were there promptly and went from 9 to 5. We even went further until 6 o'clock, until one of the ballot boxes were finished. We understand they went again from 6 to 11 without any UNC representative being there, and they counted 5 boxes on Tuesday. I want you to listen well. Last night, the same thing happened. We went from 9 to 5, and they continued after the allotted time from 6 to 11, and miraculously they counted 16 boxes. 16 boxes in our absence. So that means they have counted 25 ballot boxes without, what is supposed to be a democratic, transparent process, without us being present. Now, just the math alone, that is impossible to count 16 boxes. In a normal day, we have counted 8 boxes from 9 to 5. They've counted 16 boxes from 6 to 11 last night. Now, that is highly suspicious. I am not afraid to say and question the motives of the EBC. I do not care if they are offended, because what is important is that the process is seen as democratic, transparent, and it serves the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that has clearly not happened here. I leave it up to the public now, who has been led on by an uncaring government, by a Prime Minister intent on inciting the racial divide, or widening the racial divide. Because when he has no option, he turns only to that, and then blames it again on our political leader. He has incited that racial divide and incited the people, and he continues to do so. But the process is clear. Everything has been clear. We cannot let things be dictated by the EBC on their own terms after they have already suggested and agreed on a schedule. And all of that based on the promptings and urging of PNM Legal. No, the EBC has to maintain an impartial look at all times. The optics must be one, that they cannot be compromised, that they're unbiased, and that is important for our democracy. So anybody can come and try to intimate that we are trying to be obstructionists. We do not accept. And we do not accept the bullying of a Colonel Inwood. He has no legal standing or no moral standing to talk to anybody about anything. We do not accept. For one, we'll stand up for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll continue the process, and we'll do so with honor, with rigor, with fervor, and in the interest of our country. Thank you.
Well said.
Strong.
Good afternoon.
Yes, wait for the next one.
Good afternoon. My name is Julian John, and I am the candidate, or was the candidate for the constituency of La Hoqueta Talpa. When a voter shows up at a polling station to exercise their franchise, they're expected to have in their possession an ID card, Trinidad and Tobago ID card, and an EBC issued poll card. On the day of the 10th, well, prior to me making that statement, I want to say, in La Hoqueta Talpa, what came out is that there were many irregularities also. You had the lack of specimen initials of BBC officials authorized to issue ballot papers at the various polling stations. A letter was sent by the election officer of the La Hoqueta Talpa constituency to the head of BBC, and we were denied that right to see what the specimen signature looked like. And why we did not ask for that arbitrarily, it is because the initials vary from ballot paper to ballot paper within the same polling division. You had an assigned ballot paper, no authorizing initials on the ballot paper. You had numerous stamp-related issues, and I was told in the recount, even the EBC felt that there was some issue to be raised there, where it appears that ballot stamp for the PNM all had consistently the same irregularity within that same PD, whereas for the UNC, the stamp was good. You could have made out that stamp, but with the PNM ballots, or those marked for the PNM, there was a great irregularity, and the person who sent this report to me surmised that one could have created the impression that these ballot papers were hastily stamped. Errors on the statement of polls. Total ballots and total poll cards did not match. High number of polling cards issued at polling stations. Now, with the high number of polling cards issued at polling stations, which brings me to the first point that I was making, that you are expected to show up with your ID card and EBC issued poll card, which would have been sent to you in advance via the mail. What we were finding in the constituency of La Hoqueta Talpa, you would have had the PNM stronghold as you would have the UNC stronghold PDs. So in the case of La Hoqueta, for instance, you had this happening consistently. In the case of Wallafield, I'm going to give you an example. In a polling station number 2085, which is 1 to 5 different polling stations there. Overall votes cast was 1,939. The polling cards issued at that polling station without any, well, whether it is they did not work with their polling cards or did not work with the TNT government issued ID, was 1,371 in Wallafield. That meant 70% of the people who voted in polling station 2085 had neither, well, you have to surmise, because you have to, you now have to decide what it could be without having the evidence, because you are not allowed to look at the polling station diary, which again we asked for. We sent a letter to the Election and Boundary, the head of the Election and Boundaries Commission, and we're told that is not in the Representation of the People's Act. But if you have in this polling station 70% of the people who would have voted without either ID card, they didn't have the polling card, and they had to be issued at the station, I call that a grave irregularity, and it needs an investigation. Now, when you look at this comparative to a polling station or polling stations which exist in maybe, let's say, an area which would vote perhaps where the UNC would be competitive, Kaparo Mamaral, total in polling station 2660. Total poll cards used 455. Total white poll cards 2072. That's 16%. So that's a big drop. You know. Whereas in places where you think the PNM has an advantage, in 2665 1, again in Mamaral, Kaparo Mamaral, total white poll cards, that is those who voted without the ID and the poll cards, 48% to 15%. 2665 2, total poll cards used 285, total of the white poll cards 28. Again, those without ID or would have bought their poll cards, it's 10%. I think this is it's really an irregularity. It doesn't make any sense because in the areas where, as I said, the PNM are very competitive, you have this high incidence of the use of persons of the EBC issued poll cards. I mean, on the day in question, you don't know, and then you have no access to this station diary, so you don't know who voted. They are not telling you who voted. So what you are in fact doing is an exercise. What is happening now in the various recounts really is a count. It's not a verification of anything. You're not different to the count on Sesame Street, but the only person who's laughing is the PNM or the President House. You understand? You can't verify anything at all. So you just say, well, this is one ballot for UNC, one ballot for the PNM, but you just don't know who voted based on the fact that a significant number, in the case of Laurent Talbot, 70% in one case would have voted probably without any card and without a EBC issued poll card, well, issued in advance poll card. And I find that to be very troubling, and I think this calls for a wider and bigger investigation.
Just talking.
That is very serious.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to reiterate a few issues that were raised and try to tie them to some of the other problems that took place. As you all know, on many occasions before the elections, the United National Congress met with the Elections and Boundaries Commission. In fact, on those occasions, a team led by the party chairman, and which would have included the political leaders and other representatives of the parties, including myself, met with the EBC with the express purpose of ensuring that the elections that were coming up, which were due, which actually took place on August 10th, were free, fair, and free from fear. Our objective then remains our objective now. That has not changed. As indicated by Mr. Sobers, we are acting within the law. We are acting within what is required of us. We are not breaching the regulations, we are not breaching the law. When we met with the EBC on all these multiplicity of occasions, they were very cordial to us. They were very supportive. I find it extremely strange then that now, when the things that we are asking for would aid the transparency of the electoral process, that the EBC itself is finding reasons why not to provide. As DPL John has indicated, what we asked for, access to the station diary, the specimen signatures, access to the poll cards and the stubs, those things will assist in ensuring that the process is transparently reviewed. There should be no reason for the EBC to object to anything that we are asking for once it will help the transparency and the integrity of the process to be validated. It is therefore strange that they are fighting this down. What is even more strange is the Prime Minister and other members of his team trying to ascribe some sort of blame to the UNC and the political leader assuming that, asserting that we are trying to delay a process. We are not. What we are doing now is trying to ensure that a proper process is in fact put in place. It is exactly what we did in 2015. It was exactly what we did in 2015 when the conduct of the EBC was called into question. And the EBC was found wanting at that time. Their desire at this point in time and their determination in not providing the items and documents that we require to ensure the process is transparent is extremely unfortunate. It therefore leaves room for speculation, which is not something anybody wants in an electoral process. I repeat that the items that we are asking for, the access to documents that we are asking for, is not inappropriate. What is concerning to us on this side is that the EBC refuses to provide those very things which will ensure that the process is viewed to be transparent. I want to also remind you that the political leader had asked for international observers. In 2015, the then opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, had also demanded the presence of international observers. We have been told that he wrote to the CARICOM and other agencies seeking international observers. We are told that. We requested copies of the correspondence. We have not seen letters to him or letters from them to him. Sorry, we have not seen letters from him to them and letters from them to him. It is strange, don't you find? It is very strange that a political leader and prime minister will not be easily, anxiously willing to provide those documents for the avoidance of doubt. Isn't that odd? In the same way that the EBC is not willing to provide documents which will remove doubt. That is very, very unfortunate again. I would like to commend members of the public, however, who took up the challenge issued by the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, pre-2010. Sorry, pre-August 10th, when she asked that since the political leader of the PNM was not inclined to have international observers, that citizens become national observers and report what you found. And in several instances, citizens have gone to Facebook and to other forms of social media to highlight their own experiences, which in many instances reflected some of the issues that we found here. The issues we found here have, in many cases, the potential to affect the numbers in this election. You are asked to judge for yourself. My colleague indicated that we are providing the information to you so that you can judge for yourself the veracity of what we are finding, which are substantial numbers of irregularities, which we are not being able to dismiss, which we are not being able to address properly, because the Elections and Boundaries Commission has taken it to their heart not to provide the wherewithal so to do. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Yes, the mics by you on that.
Mr. Yola indicated that they have requested certain items from the agency in terms of verifying information and helping the transparent process along. Is that something that is within the parameters the parties will need to request in terms of the account going forward and verifying that those
Yes, it is. And as Mr. Tanku noted, right, anything that would add to showing that the process was free and unencumbered should be provided. You cannot understand what the difficulty is. Police station diaries, we are asking for confidential information. Nothing about our electoral process should be shrouded in secrecy or should be remain confidential. That's all right. Those are, we cast those votes and we want to be able to verify. So yeah, it is within all right. People may try to come and say different things, but if you think about it, if we are logical, we think about it, anything that adds to the transparency and integrity of our electoral process should be provided willingly and in full view of the public. Because we aren't asking them to show it to just us, you know. We're not suggesting that we see it behind a closed door. We're saying provide the information.
And it seems that this ballot box we found is that the latest now with regards to what's Tobago is finding now that may have been discounted before or not been present on that particular day. And what sort of report, how we were made aware of that last ballot box that was found last this
How we were made of the
how we were made aware of it? Was it reported to you by whom? How did it come to your knowledge? This latest ballot box that you were on last year.
It came to our knowledge. No, well, in the process, we have all the ballot boxes behind the returning officer. So when you finish with one box, they will lock it back up and then go for the other one. They will bring the ballot box to the table. When it is brought to the table, it was brought with those issues. Normally it will have all the seals to protect the integrity of the box. It came with only that one seal to the back. I immediately raised it to the returning officer and said, this is highly irregular. Anybody can open that box, right? Do whatever they want with it and reclose the box. She then went on to say, no, that is a proper seal. I said, but if you look at all the other boxes which we are yet to touch, you will see that they are all properly sealed. So she brought the box to us with the improper seals.
So can I ask, in the face of what appears to be stonewalling by EBC, and you guys are just saying should and what you think EBC should be done? There's a lawyer on the team. How far can you go with this? Because there's one half of the country that's pretty much seeing this as not making sense because their party wants justice and your half to see irregularities. So what could be done to convince everybody that this is really a serious issue to the other half of the country, and what is there within the law that you can do beyond just complaining to the EBC and the Stonewall?
I want to take the point on convincing the public, right? Our role here is to present the facts as they are. We have not given you anything that's conjecture, anything that we've made up, anything that we've seen elsewhere. These are things that they would have witnessed over the past few days. They are giving you the facts as they are. And public, we have full confidence in the public to be able to withstand any propaganda campaign to the contrary. Because these are well-educated public, they are well-engaged. And what you see happening elsewhere and people trying to carry the conversation down a different path is not the majority of the people. The majority of people are looking on and are aware that we've given the facts as they are, and we will continue to do so. Again, this is a critical, essential part of our democratic process, and we will continue to make sure that we are deliberate, that we come to you again with facts, not any stories that we heard somewhere. What they brought on the table here today are things that they've experienced, and we know we have full confidence in the people of Trinidad to be able to stand strongly behind the democratic process.
And following the recounts that are currently taking place, when that is done now, I know that party still has objections to the processes and procedures being used currently, which is still saying that they are irregularities being found and not being addressed. And then now we see there's obstruction of sorts by the EBC. What is next? What sort of items
I want to just be cautious against this. What is next? This is where we're at right now. Right, we are being very deliberate to give you the information as they are at the moment. What you have are people on the other side telling you there's an obstruction and preventing them from doing their work. None of those things are true, right? So where we are at right now is that you have people standing here for the democratic process. We will continue to lay out the facts as they are, and when we get to the point of what's next, we'll say what's next, but not before.
Just saying that
before you go, I just want to indicate one particular issue. The issue is that to issue the white paper, it takes a minimum, and we are being gracious, of 3 to 5 minutes. Normally it will go about 10 minutes if you have to actually take the oath. The normal white paper, you have to go to the book, you have to check it, okay? You have to bring it out, say yes, this person is in the book, and here is the white paper. Then you go through the process. So that takes a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes. If you have 140 or 50 of those, if you check the time, it is impossible to do each one properly. You will run out of time. So therefore, to have that amount in any one station means that something onwards was not right in the process. You cannot entertain that amount at any one station. And we have many stations with many poll cards, white poll cards that were issued. Okay, and I'm not talking about the one that where you have to actually write it in. That is even longer. So in the mix of the white poll cards are those that you have to actually write in as well. So it is impossible to issue that amount of white cards in any one polling station. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't know if the system's right, but on election day, aren't there representatives of both major parties at each polling division to pick up and point out any deficiencies as they may come along on election day?
Okay. So when you take some of the issues that are being raised in terms of persons coming in with no ID and whatnot, on election day, what they would be able to do is take note of that, which would be recorded in the polling station guide. The only time you can get the magnitude of what took place is after the election day. Nobody's going to be able, or polling agents will not be able to say, wait, this is object or identify the personality. Certain things, and they know, they very well know this, you know. That some of these issues and the issues that we are pointing out here today are things that you can identify after the close of polls, because then they get in numbers.
So it could not be identified during the polling process. I'm just asking.
But in addition to that, we make it clear in a number of some of these irregularities that we are raising today, Ms. John Love indicated that letters would have been written to the EBC on the day of election. In San Fernando, some of the issues that we had, we wrote on the day of election. So I hear you when you are saying that there may have been some independent people who have been in the system, correct. But these are some of the issues that were raised on the day itself. And corrective action in some of the instances will only taken at the end of the day. I can tell you for a fact in San Fernando, the issue that we had at the Gulfview Community Center, we went down there on about 3 or 4 occasions. We wrote about 3 or 4 letters and the responses were one thing. The corrective measures that were taken at that particular center only appeared at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
That actually took place. In the polling station right opposite our election office. We complained to the current RO, returning officer, and she affirmed to us that she will replace the presiding officer. When I came back 2 hours to check on that station, the same presiding officer was giving all the problems and causing the lines to be very lengthy. The process to be very lengthy and the lines to be very long. She was not changed. She was allowed to remain in place for the entire session until voting had closed. So this is just a lend support that it did not only happen in one constituency, it happened in ours as well in St. Joseph.
Ms. Haynes, first, I would just answer regularly. One may ask, where is the political leader? Last time we saw her was on Monday, and after that we have seen posts on social media and we have seen you guys in the office.
Yes, our party system is set up where we have, and I raised this at the last press conference, appointment as public relations officer. I think everybody here is well aware that it is my job to treat with the press. We have brought forward the members from the Canterbury Marginal Constituency. Our political leader is doing the job that she's required to do at this very moment, but this is in fact my job to liaise with the press.
I have a question for Mr. Naked as well. Hi, sir. First, in 2023, you said one of the days during this week, some ballot boxes were counted without your presence, without you guys being there, and they counted up until 11 p.m. to compare. I just wanted to know, since you went to ask for the recall, why is it that, what was the difficulty in staying here until 11 having a representative oversee the recall?
Well, first of all, in any democratic process, there has to be reason. And it's reasonable that the time was set. And the time was set by the returning officer from 9 to 5. That was done on Tuesday afternoon. We were counted here on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they went beyond the time allotted by the returning officer against our protestations. Now, what is even more concerning is that on Friday, last night, 16 boxes were counted. That is mathematically impossible from 6 to 11. 16 boxes were counted.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, why wasn't anyone staying back to watch the counting?
Because a time was given by the returning officer.
So when the time was given by the returning officer,
9
and
to
you
5.
see that the counting was going beyond 6, why didn't somebody stay?
So nobody has an issue with the fact that the count goes on?
I don't understand your question. First of all, your questioning is an insult to the intelligence of the democratic process. If we agreed on a time, there was consensus that a time should have 9 to 5, and we have our polling agents, we have our legal present. You cannot come and say that why we didn't stay because they decided against all protocols and against the democratic process to continue. That is madness.
So wait.
Did the EBC ask for an extension?
No, they did not ask. PNM Legal said they were prepared to stay, and then EBC said that they would stay. That is not democratic. There has to be consensus like there was on Tuesday when we agreed on a time between
you all were not allowed to stay?
There's not
kicked out.
Listen carefully. There was a time allotted given by the EBC, 9 to 5 agreed on by all parties. There was consensus. That is democratic. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we agreed to that process, follow that process, and they continue to count after the allotted time, from 6 to 11 in our absence. 25 ballot boxes. Listen again. 25 ballot boxes were counted without any UNC representative being there.
Right, but you see, what we keep asking is that at the time the other offender came, at that time did the UNC representative?
I'm going to just, one second. I mean, just 1 second, that's 1 second, right? What everybody at this table would have gone through things is to explain that it's not a simple recounting. You're not just watching where the X is, right? It is a verification of the ballots. It is an intense process, right? Now, we have one team telling us, speed us along. We want to get this thing over now. If we had a count till 12 o'clock, we have to, let us be reasonable here as citizens, right? The question being posed to Mr. Naked at this point in time is quite frankly unfair. If you agree to a time, and then arbitrarily decide that you're switching in time, you are suggesting that our thing is, so if they say we stay in here 24 hours, we're supposed to say, yeah, no problem? It's unfair. What you are asking, the question that you're asking is unfair. The question that we need to ask is whether or not the returning officer agreed to a time, 9 to 5? Yes. One group asks for the time to change. Ask the question now, why was the time changed without consensus? And that is what the question needs to be, and that's where you'll get the answers you're looking for. Not that why then we just all comply and everybody go on. But why is it that one side can ask for a change to an agreed upon decision, and then everybody goes along with it? No questions asked. It cannot be, could never be acceptable.
And to Anita's point, we are not counting marbles here. There's not two neighbors counting marbles. These are the votes of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. This is something important. This is not something that we want to expedite quickly so that Rory could be satisfied with himself to form a government. No, that's not how it is. We have to make sure that that government is legitimate. No one must be afraid to say that. We have to make sure that this government is legitimate, and that is the duty of all of us here. So when I hear those questions that you all are posing, why we didn't stay longer, that is a ridiculous.
Let me indicate.
We need to audio. It's about the best interest of the country, not just the UNC.
At this juncture or that juncture, frustrating the process. You understand?
But why don't you ask the people who are asking you those questions, who is frustrating the process? Tell me, given what we have told you, what have we done wrong in the process? There's nothing we have done wrong. We have followed the guidelines of the EBC. We have come to a consensus on the time allocated. We have followed that as well. There's nothing we have not done. If you can show me one thing we have done, I personally will end this recount. We have done everything that we were told to do. We have followed it. You cannot come in a democratic process 25 ballot boxes in the absence of one of the parties and then call it democratic. It's ridiculous.
The parties that want to stick around.
You cannot say, you cannot say, as I said before, we are not counting marbles between you and your partner. We counting here votes of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You cannot go and count votes by yourself and then say that is democratic. You have to understand that, son.
Mr. Naked, someone raised concern about your nationality because they pointed out that you played and scored a goal for Lebanon.
Correct. I played and scored a wonderful goal in the last minute for Lebanon. Any other question? Thank you.
It's a stupid question.
I was a guest player.
But FIFA recognized it as a full international.
I just want to...
So was it possible? It was between two club teams.
Listen, someone...
It was a beautiful goal. Go on YouTube and look at it. Free kick against Egypt. Sorry.
Was the equalizer or the goal for the...
It was the equalizer.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Alright?
Thank you very much.
Any other questions that are not ridiculous? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Anytime. Yeah, man, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, you got it there. Sorry very much for the audio. I see a lot of you, telling me about the audio. I tried to improvise. Well, one of my media colleagues here helped me out.